We don't need mics here, I think. आप बोल सकते हैं. It's an automobile company. It's a very famous car manufacturing company in US. वो नाम चेंज हो गया बाद में जाके. But initially, जिस टाइम की हम बात कर रहे हैं, it was Ford. तो Ford जो है, उसने 1970s में एक गाड़ी लॉन्च की, पिंटो के नाम से. पिंटो एक गाड़ी का नाम है, ठीक है. पिंटो के नाम से गाड़ी लॉन्च की. वो गाड़ी कुछ इस तरह की नजर आती है, बड़ी अच्छी नजर आ रही है, इनएक्सपेंसिव है, फ्यूल एफिशिएंट है, बड़ी मुनासिब है. लेकिन इसमें एक मसला है. छोटा सा मसला ये है कि उसका जो फ्यूल टैंक है वो उस गाड़ी के रियर एंड पे पीछे है. एनी कार or any vehicle that used to hit it with a speed of exceeding 20 miles per hour, this car's fuel tank would rupture. So there was a high risk of explosion. और ये पूरी गाड़ी जल के राख हो जाती थी. And there was a serious case of injuries and burns, you know. Problem ये थी, अच्छा, if somebody is struggling to imagine that, Fayaz, can we help them? Let's look at the video of that car. It's a crash test. 35 miles per hour. Bullet is Chevrolet. Here's this test going on. There it goes, yes. Soon turn into. अच्छा, इसमें सिर्फ एक इशू नहीं था. जब ये गाड़ी इसको हिट करती थी, तो हिट करने के बाद जो उसके डोर्स थे, they also got jammed, you know, और उसकी वजह से people who were there injured, उनको रेस्क्यू करने में भी बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी. As you can see, around 40 crash tests were conducted for Ford Pinto. And Pinto failed in all of those tests. So the management had an obvious option. Recall करें cars को या फिर नहीं करें. So the management decided, they did a cost benefit analysis for this. Imagine. They decided what to do. So the first option was, what will it cost to call back and invest? Like, you know, people who are used to with numbers, they want to see. 12.5 million vehicles, $11 की इसकी कॉस्ट थी एक गाड़ी को सही करने की. Call back and then, you know, fixing that issue. And around $137 million का कॉस्ट आ रही थी. But somebody therein in the management thought, what if we do not recall? Somebody said we might have to pay the insurance cost, of course. So what is the insurance cost? So they thought, what would be the insurance cost? And there's 180 deaths, 180 plus burn injuries, 2,100 burned cars. That makes around 49.5 million. So that means it's much cheaper to let people die. Very simple. So what do you think? What should a car manufacturing company do in this situation? क्या करना चाहिए इसको? यहाँ पे कोई ऐसा है लोग जो automobile company से हैं? Do we have people from automobile industry? No? Yes? No? So what do you think? क्या करना चाहिए इस situation के अंदर? Being out of the context, what do you think? Anybody who says yes? It doesn't take account because numbers don't take, you know, numbers you can quantify, but the management did not actually take into account that. You were talking about the management at Ford. That's poor management, true. But you want to go into further details? You know, like what would be the further cost if we do not recall? Do you want to do that? Anyways, so the obvious decision, staying out of the context, means we should recall those cars. But Ford continued, not just recalling those cars, but of course they continued to produce those cars, not just for 1 year, 2 years, for 8 years. They were willing to settle the damages, but not willing to stop the production. They were willing to produce, they were willing to sell, people were willing to buy for 8 years. How did that all happen? ये कैसे possible है? Somebody might say that there must be a bunch of greedy, selfish, self-centered people who are there. Maybe yes for few, maybe the CEO, maybe somebody there, but how come the entire management, how come the entire group of people took that decision and nobody, you want to say something? What was the regulator? We'll come back to that point. That is a very good point. Regulator क्या कर रहा था वहाँ पे? मैं आपकी इस point को cover करूँगा. We'll look at it कि हम ये किस तरह. Now we have just look at कि क्या हुआ था, but ये क्यों हुआ? एक तरीका ये है कि यार ये सब fraud थे, सारे लोग corrupt थे, सबको जेल में भेज दें आप, सब corrupt थे. दूसरा तरीका ये है कि क्या उनकी जगह पे अगर कोई और होता तो वो क्या करता? कितना आसान या मुश्किल था ये फैसले लेना उस जमाने में. 500 से लेके 900 के करीब दरमियान में बर्न्ट इंजरीज हुई. They did not even stop the production, as we said. Ethical blindness के लेंस से अगर हम देखते हैं इसको, तो ethical blindness के लेंस से we have somebody who was there in the recall team. He was the person, Dennis Joya, the person responsible to recall those cars. Dennis Joya writes in a case study on Ford, and he says, after I left Ford, I now argue and teach that Ford had an ethical obligation to recall. But while I was there, I perceived no strong obligation to recall, and I remember no strong overtones to the case whatsoever. Further, he writes, why didn't I see the gravity of the problem and its ethical overtones? What happened to the value system I carried with me into Ford? Now, this is a very typical case of ethical blindness. In the situation, you fail to see it. After and before, you begin to see it. How did this happen? There are 3 layers of the context we'll discuss. The first layer is immediate situation. Dennis Joya की immediate situation में क्या था? At one point in time, he was looking at 100 plus recall campaigns. 100 से ज़्यादा. Extreme time pressure. No time for decision making. जब हम decision making के लिए हमारे पास time नहीं होता तो फिर हम क्या करते हैं? What do we do? What do you do when you don't have time for decision making? What do you do? Anybody? Yes? You repeat the decision what? Whatever happened earlier. Yes, very right. Anybody else? Instincts, very right. Very true. Wonderful contributions. Anybody else? You delegate. You want somebody else to make a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. You defer it. But you have to take a decision. That's an assumption. Sorry? Best possible decision, but how do you do that? You know? You have to analyze. But you don't have time to analyze. When we don't have time to take a decision, we go by default. We go to our standard procedures. We go by our SOPs. We go by our routines. And that creates one of the frames. SOPs, we go back to, what does SOP say? SOP क्या कहता है मेरा? मैं तो बस वो काम करूँगा. SOP, फोर्ड का SOP कहता था 2 क्राइटेरियाज की बात करता था. वो कहता था कि यार 2 क्राइटेरियाज पे अगर गाड़ी उतरती है पूरी तो ठीक है, उसको रिकॉल कर लो, अदरवाइज कोई जरूरत नहीं, कोई बड़ी आपके ऊपर रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. 2 SOPs क्या आते हैं? One was high frequency. Dennis Joya could not notice high frequency of cars, definitely, because वो high frequency में नहीं थी. The other problem was traceability. How do you trace the problem of crashing the cars to the fuel tank? कभी driver, for example, you could have a driver drunk, you could have 80 miles per hour crashes, you could have, driver was not properly equipped with trainings, you could have multiple problems. What is the, इस fuel tank का क्या issue है? इस fuel tank का तो कोई issue नहीं है. आप इस fuel tank को मारेंगे, वो फट जाएगा. ड्राइवर की गलती होती है, फ्यूल टैंक की गलती नहीं होती. फ्यूल टैंक तो लगा हुआ है. तो traceability was a problem. Crashes were not traced back to the fuel tanks. So these 2 criteria were not met. The problem was, and the third point was, group pressure. When you don't see somebody similar in qualification, for example, he was an engineer, and other engineers were not saying anything. When you don't see other people not saying anything, why do you want to look foolish? Why do you want to, be different from others? What makes you smarter than others? आप imagine करें, आप लोगों के सबके सबसे बुरे बॉसेस तो होंगे. एक ना एक जिंदगी में आया होगा हर एक की. एक ना एक जिंदगी कितने लोगों के आया है? हाथ उठाएं. एक ना एक जिंदगी में आया होगा. आई एम श्योर आया होगा. इमेजिन करें, जरा ख्याल लाएं अपने जहन में अपने बॉस का. I'll give you a minute to wipe off that image. But imagine करें, you're going to your boss with an 87.5 million expensive option, or you don't have any support from your SOPs, nobody else is saying anything, and you have heard your boss saying numerous times that safety does not sell. Do you want to go to that boss and look foolish? Now you see, you put yourself in a situation, and I'd like you to imagine a number of situations, because I'm telling you a number of contexts. And if you imagine yourself, your organizations, the other organization where you have been, and if you imagine yourself, अगर आप imagine करें कि आपके situation में किस किस तरह के context available हैं, आप किस तरह के context को देख रहे हैं. Now, it's a difficult situation, definitely. Now, there was an organizational context as well. Ford was facing fierce competition from Toyota. Toyota ने सस्ती और छोटी और fuel efficient cars पहले ही launch कर दी थी. Ford के पास Pinto के अलावा और कोई ऐसा product नहीं था which could compete Japanese cars. The competition was fierce. That was the organizational context. The second point was Pinto was CEO's car. It was CEO's brainchild. CEO wanted that car. So when a CEO says something, तो उस सिचुएशन के अंदर आप जब डिसएग्री करेंगे तो फिर आप कैसे लगेंगे, कैसे महसूस करते हैं आप जब आप सीईओ की बात से डिसएग्री करें? यस सर वाले तो बहुत सारे लोग मिल जाते हैं, बट डिसएग्री करने वाले बहुत कम लोग होते हैं, डेफिनेटली. एंड सीईओ सेट अ डिफरेंट रिजिड लिमिट. ही सेट, और बहुत पॉपुलर लिमिट थी फोर्ड के अंदर. वो कहते रहे कि लिमिट ऑफ $2,000 से महंगी गाड़ी नहीं होनी चाहिए, 2000 पाउंड से वजनी गाड़ी नहीं होनी चाहिए. सीईओ ने एक ऐसी लिमिट सेट कर दी है. अब सीईओ की लिमिट सेट हुई हुई है, सीईओ की लिमिट ने भी एक फ्रेम बना दिया आपके ऊपर. अरे 2000 से ऊपर की गाड़ी महंगी नहीं होनी चाहिए. इफ आई इनकर सम मोर कॉस्ट ऑन सेफ्टी, कॉस्ट बढ़ जाएगी, मार्जिन कम हो जाएगा, मतलब ये मैं नहीं करना. मैं व्हाई डू यू वांट टू गो टू द बॉस एंड से यार $2200 की गाड़ी हो जाएगी? कभी नहीं चाहेंगे आप. तो जो एक फ्रेमिंग क्रिएट कर दी एक लिमिट की. सेफ्टी डज नॉट सेल. आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू द बॉस had a value system which definitely created a frame around the entire organization as well. Boss के value system ने frame create किया पूरी organization के ऊपर. Safety was not valued as much as we do in our organizations. Crash test. इन्होंने बात की, regulator क्या कर रहा था? 1970s में जब Ford launch हुई तो उस जमाने में crash test obligation थी ही नहीं. Legality, it was completely legal to fail a crash test and get the car into the market. So it's all legal. The context was we are doing something legal. We're abiding the law. We're the law abiders. The last point is Pinto engineers जिन्होंने उस पे काम किया था, they were also driving that car. अपनी चीज जो चला रहे हैं आप, do you want to call that unsafe? Otherwise, फिर आपको बताना पड़ेगा, फिर आपको एक नया खर्चा करना पड़ेगा. Definitely, that confirms the bias. So we have number of biases here in this situation. We have a societal context as well. Society क्या कर रही थी? Society ने कौन सा context create किया हुआ था? Society ने पहला context, people wanted small cars and less fuel consumption. Oil crisis उस जमाने में था. Fuel की prices बढ़ रही थी. Society wanted fuel efficient cars. And that's why the limit, that's why the CEO wanted that car to get in the market. Perception overall ये था कि ड्राइवर की गलती होती है. ये गलती ड्राइवर की होती है. गाड़ी देखो वो भी चला रहे हैं, ये भी गाड़ी चला रहे हैं, ये भी चला रहे हैं, ये भी चल रही है. तो गाड़ी का मसला नहीं है, मसला ड्राइवर का है. ड्राइवर चलाने वाला अच्छा होता है, देखो वो चला रहे हैं, जिंदा है, जी रहे हैं आराम से, ठीक है. सस्ती गाड़ी है, क्या इशू है? कोई इशू नहीं है, ड्राइवर की गलती होती है. तो इशू यहाँ पे ड्राइवर का बनना था. ओवरऑल परसेप्शन सोसाइटी का ये था कि इशू ड्राइवर का है, गाड़ी का नहीं है. सेफ्टी की इतनी एडवर्टीजमेंट नहीं थी उस जमाने में, अवेयरनेस नहीं थी उस जमाने में जितनी इस जमाने में आज है. कस्टमर्स प्रेफर स्पेस ओवर सेफ्टी. फोर्ड के पास एक और प्रोडक्ट भी थी, बट उसके अंदर सेफर फ्यूल टैंक्स थे. बट वो सेफर फ्यूल टैंक्स स्पेस कम छोड़ते थे डिग्गी में, जिसकी वजह से customers started buying more Pintos, and therefore, the demand was higher. 2000 definitely was based on price sensitivity of customers. Now, if you look at Pinto, we have described the immediate situations. How many of you believe दैट इट्स कि एवरेज आदमी इस सिचुएशन में आके इस सिचुएशन में बोलने के लायक होता. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव बिलीव? डू यू बिलीव दैट इस सिचुएशन में कोई भी आदमी आए और वो निकल जाएगा? The difficulty of the situation, if you look at the difficulty of the situation, if you look at the entire context, CEO wants a car, prices are falling, fuel consumption, efficient fuel consumption cars चाहिए. अच्छा, इस सिचुएशन के अंदर हम देखें 3 लेयर्स की बात करते हैं. नॉलेज का इशू था. Dennis Joya was an engineer. There were numerous other engineers. Knowledge was not an issue. Was it intention? Maybe. Maybe you could say maybe the CEO, maybe a few management people could be intentionally wrong. But overall the entire company, ये कैसे हुआ? Was it the context and framing? Largely yes. Largely yes. Because इतना बड़ा मजमा एक साथ बेवकूफ नहीं बन सकता. इतना बड़ा मजमा, उसको बेवकूफ बनाने के लिए एक बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग कॉन्टेक्स्ट चाहिए था. यानी उसकी बेवकूफ़ी से मुराद मेरी ये है कि उसकी जो बेवकूफ़ी है उसकी नॉलेज की वजह से नहीं है. उसके गिर्द ऐसा फ्रेम क्रिएट हुआ है कि जिसकी वजह से वो अनकॉन्शियस है अबाउट देयर ओन डिसीजंस. Many of you have dropped down their cards there because they have seen 2 or 3 cards there. You made an unconscious decision to drop down your cards because you have seen other people doing that as well. Do you think you were in control of your decision? Psychology says, industrial psychology says, at times our shopping behavior, हमारे दूसरे behaviors जो होते हैं, are largely unconscious decisions that we do. We are not in control of our decisions. But does that mean that we